And I just sat there like by the poolside on the beach, and I was just like, I literally had enough. Like my foot off the gas after I went to uni.
Yeah.
And that's when I got into a rut of being an employee. And it got to that point where I was working at the job. I would like go to the toilet, check how many sales I made on Amazon, and just be like, yeah! All you have to do is have a laptop, an internet connection, and a bit of time every single day maybe to get it set up and keep it running, and you can do it from anywhere in the world. And I was like, that is a sick business model.
Yeah. Okay, so welcome to the Bayta podcast. I'm here joined by Johnny Bradley. And I'm going to introduce him, and then he's going to introduce himself as well. So over the past year, you've transformed yourself and used to working a 9-to-5 job, corporate job, and now you're building a personal brand with over 25,000 YouTube subscribers, 80,000 Instagram followers, and you're an Amazon FBA expert, which we'll go on to explain a little bit more later on, and earning six figures plus.
Yeah.
That's okay. Just checking. Through his multiple income sources. So, did you just want to sort of recap? Yeah,
that's probably better than I could have said it. But no, yeah. Thanks for kind of having me on your podcast. I really appreciate it. And hello to everyone that is actually. I don't know.
Yes.
There's a camera there. To sum that up and maybe put it from my perspective, 18 months ago I was in the position that many people are in. Watch my YouTube channel with I want to, have financial freedom. Or I think when I started it was like I want an extra few £100s a month so I could save up and go on holiday. That was like the big thing because I wanted to go to nice places on holiday, but I definitely could not afford it. I'd have to get a credit card, max it out, and then pay it off over like 3 years. So I was doing that. I was working, trying to find out what I wanted to do, how to make more money. Started up the YouTube channel, learned FBA. We'll go into it a bit more.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a roller coaster over the last year of progression, not only personally but then professionally, to the point now where it's pretty good. But then I can also see that it's going to continue on into the future. Yeah. Don't mind that noise. There's a cat on a cat scratcher.
Add some character to the
podcast. It's just character. Yeah. We'll get it to. No, it's just lying down now. It's all good.
So today we're just going to talk a bit about you, early life, what was school and university, stuff like that's like. More going on to the next stages, which is when you started Amazon FBA, and then growing a personal brand. And also we've got a segment that we're going to talk about, and you're going to want to stay tuned towards the end if you're looking to start Amazon FBA, is that actually the way Johnny and I connected is we took a course a year and a half ago. And I saw Johnny through that, followed his YouTube channel, and I started a product. It didn't turn out as well as I'd liked it. And I know a lot of people were in a similar sort of position that I was when I was talking to them. So we're going to go through that, and hopefully Johnny, being the Amazon FBA expert he is going to hopefully critique and sort of have a look, and we'll go through that later on. So it'll be packed full of value, so definitely stay tuned to the end for that. But let's start off with the beginning. So, what was it like growing up? Where were you from, and sort of what was your background?
Yeah. So I kind of grew up in Hertfordshire area, so kind of close to where we are now. And I don't know, I was like, it was a good childhood. I kind of lived in the country. It was to be honest, it was quite good. But the thing I didn't appreciate at the time was what my dad was trying to do in terms of trying to help me out and change my mindset. It's looking back, I can see what he was doing and why he was doing it. At the time, I had no idea. And because he's an entrepreneur, he's a business owner, and his life changed when he set up a business. When he went from, I think he was about 40 or something like that, and he said his biggest regret in life was waiting until he was 40 to set up a business that he could have done when he was 21. And
what was he doing beforehand?
So he's done a whole bunch of stuff like surveying, project management, and then set up a couple of companies in project management and recruitment, and did really well with them. So that was my kind of role model, but I didn't know it at the time, right?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I was just like, just play outside and stuff like that. Just like play guitar and just do the things that I wanted to do. It was a pretty good childhood. I don't know. So a lot of people that do entrepreneurship, they have like a big story about how it was bad. But I just didn't have that. So
it's really similar to my story basically.
Yeah.
Like my parents, they had jobs and whatever, but my stepdad was a carpet fitter, and my mum had just worked for British Airways, and it was too much travelling to be around a family. And they were like, why don't we just start a carpet business? And this was at the turn of the financial crisis, so really not a good time. But
this is about the same time for my dad as well. That moment where basically the job just dried up, and he was like, okay.
Exactly. It's now or never.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was that which, now looking back, I definitely think on that there always been that's one of my main inspirations, because I go, they work so hard. Like, they could work less, but they work hard to work for themselves, essentially.
Yes.
And do it for
Well,
themselves.
it's quite interesting. My dad's, this is quite a few years ago, he said, because I've wanted to start a business for ages. And I've tried to start up businesses and failed, quite a few times. And he said, he set me a challenge, and this legit did happen.
Yeah.
He said, your challenge is to earn more than I did in his prime, right? And it was a fair amount. At the time, I was like, that is never going to happen. Literally never. And I've surpassed it, which is good.
Which is nice. Have you related to him about it?
I rubbed it in his face. Yeah. It's just saying, like, you worked all those years for that, and I did it quick. But no, he he's like a role model, someone that's kind of pushed me. And I know a lot of people on the internet, including myself, will talk about the fear of failure.
Yeah.
And we spoke about this, me and my dad, in a huge amount of depth, because he was on the stage of being like around the corner, so he could see what the fear of failure looked like and what happens when you get past it. And he's always saying to me, you need to do it. Like, your first business will probably fail, which it did. But that will get you over that fear of failure, so you realise that actually it's not that scary. And that really helps me start up, the future things that I wanted to start up, because he was always there to say, you just need to get over it. Like, it's not a big deal. It's just you're building this thing up. It's like to be this really horrible thing, but actually it's just nothing.
It's the anxiety and the nervousness.
I was about to think about anxiety. Like, I used to have like anxiety with flying. So the anxiety of before the getting on the plane was way worse than actually flying.
Yeah,
I get on the plane, I'm like, oh, actually, it's just like a Airbus.
Nice.
Literally.
Yeah. So school, was that all okay? No massive issues there?
School was all good. Kind of average student. I didn't, not particularly kind of academic.
Yeah.
Not a bad student. I went to a guitar school right after I did my GCSEs, because I wanted to do music. That was the thing that I wanted to do more than ever.
Yeah.
So I went to the place called the Institute of Contemporary Music Performance. So it sounds really pretentious, but it was basically like learn how to play guitar and theory and stuff like that. So I went to do that, and that was like, I was 16 at the time, amongst people that were in their 20s, 30s, all mingled together. And I went, after that, it was a year, I went back to sixth form because I wanted to go to uni. And I had this big shift of like, people still treating me like a child.
Yeah.
Whereas in the guitar school, they would treat me like an adult. And I really didn't get on with the teachers. I wouldn't do homework. I still did well, but I had this big, it wasn't like a chip on my shoulder, but I was like, treat me like...
Yeah, it's a frustration though,
it was definitely a frustration, yeah. And some of the teachers, like, I had to drop one of the classes because we just could not see eye to eye.
Yeah.
And they were like, you got to do your homework. I'm not doing it, because if I need to learn it and I need to know how to do it, I know how to teach myself, because I've been through this kind of different level of education. So I don't need to do read out a textbook and do the homework. Yeah. And they just hated me for it.
To me, that in itself almost is the start of an entrepreneurial spark, if you get me. You're not conventional. You're like, I can do this my way. I know how to do it.
It's like people talk about the different ways of learning. I don't know what they are, but like seeing or hearing or whatever. I don't know what the technical terms are. I knew my way of learning, and I knew that their way of teaching me wasn't working and wasn't going to work for me. I think that made me see what school was actually like. And it wasn't. That was the point where I was like, okay, this is interesting.
I think that's a shame though, because it takes a lot of self-awareness for people in school and college, whatever, to realise that they don't learn a certain way, and then you're left feeling like an idiot, essentially, because you can't learn that way. Yeah. So actually, in a way, it's good that you had this self-awareness, and that year out probably was... it sounds very significant.
Massively influential, because I was... So if anyone knows it, so I was kind of near the Bishop Stortford area, which is kind of between, London and Cambridge. Yeah. And I would travel from there into London to go to this school. I was 16, so I got a moped, would drive to the station with a guitar on my back, which kind of acted like a sail when it was windy, so I'd like try and nearly fall over. But then I'd basically commute into London like it was a job, and then come back out. So like went from being under basically, I relied on my parents for everything to being self-sufficient. Yeah. Very, very quickly, and then went back to being treated like a child. Yeah. And it wasn't good. But no, I think that was definitely a turning point within, I guess, the mindset of like what you can achieve by yourself. Because the big thing they taught me in this school, in the guitar school, is how to teach yourself. Yeah. Right. So they wouldn't teach you anything. They would just say, "This is what you need to learn." Just like university, go out and teach yourself how to do it, and that's what I would do. Whereas in a school, they try and teach you everything, and they don't teach you how to learn, how to be self-sufficient, how to actually educate yourself. Yeah. And I think maybe fast forwarding into now, in hindsight, that was probably a really good thing, like I said, just to have that ability to be like, okay, I want to learn how to do something. Rather than, wait for someone to tell me, I'll just go and find the answer. Yeah. Because the answer's out there somewhere.
Something that someone that's like very fond of me, I'm fond of them, told me, you can learn anything. And I know it sounds simple, but it was the scenario that we were in that really stuck with me, because I'd been doing this internship and he just went, you can learn anything. And to hear that from someone who's founded this big company, it was quite crazy. So no matter what format it is, as you've said, you might be whatever the technical term of the type of learner you are, you just need to find that.
Yeah, you need to realise how you learn and just then leverage that knowledge and as going forward. If someone tells you to read a book to learn, like for example, I can't listen to audiobooks. Yeah. Like if I had a book in front of me and an audiobook and listen to the audiobook, I wouldn't know what the story. I wouldn't know what it's about.
Just don't process it.
It just doesn't. It just doesn't work. Whereas reading really, really works for me, and I just absorb everything. So as long as you know that, I just don't listen to audiobooks and read books instead.
Exactly. Yeah. I think the key here is self-awareness.
Self-awareness, yeah, definitely, yeah.
So moving on from moped with guitar on your back, going to university. So what happened at university?
University was wicked. I really enjoyed it. A lot of entrepreneurs will say it was if they went to uni, it was a waste of time. For the actual degree, you could say it was a waste of time. I did music technology. I don't know what I would do with that degree. It's just I wanted to do that at the time because it was what I was interested in. But I had a really good time. I did a hobby, which was I think again one of those moments where I look back and go, that was such an influential point that I didn't just do something that someone else wanted me to do. I decided that I wanted to do something that I enjoyed doing, even though it probably wasn't the best decision ever. But I had 3 years at uni, just making songs, and it didn't feel like work. It was just enjoyable. It was wicked. I went to Kingston Uni, so it was a nice place, really nice area. If anyone's ever been, I'd highly recommend going there. But it was just uni. I just enjoyed it, as most people do when they go to uni. They just
lots of going out.
Just go out. Yeah. My course was very, very low time, so some people have to do proper long days at uni. I was doing maybe 3 or 4 hours, 3 days a week.
And were you working part time as well at the same time or anything like that?
Yeah, I started working. I tried to work for Ted Baker. That was my first, I guess, job at uni as a temp. They didn't keep me on, and I was like, okay, I need money so I can go out. So I started teaching guitar because I was like, okay, I know how to play. I know how to teach because I know how to teach myself. So I could just do that to other people. So I started doing that, hand out some flyers. Got a few students and just started teaching them over about a year. They progressed, which was quite nice to see.
Were they younger age?
Younger age, yeah. Most of them were young. One of the one kind of group I taught was a young, very, very young child, like a 9 or 11-year-old, and their dad. Yeah. So it was interesting.
Family situation.
It was literally the whole family. It was stressful, but it was the whole family. Yeah. So that was a really interesting thing, and that was money. It was cash in hand. And that was that point where I was like, okay, I could have just gone and worked for Ted Baker or whatever. And when I considered how much I was getting paid to doing something that I enjoyed doing and was more rewarding as well, because you could see people progressing, I was like, why was I working at Ted Baker? I should have done this all along. But then it kind of fizzled out, right? Because I was like, how am I gonna? I need to get a job. I need to get a career. And I just stopped doing it basically. Yeah, which is a shame. So unfortunately,
before we move on, do you have any other sort of and I've seen videos on your channels where you've talked about the entrepreneurial things you've done, but do you have any sort of a couple of things that you think back now and go, actually that was massively influential?
I think
you're up to?
I don't know. I think all like so many things. used to have a recording studio in my house, and I used to charge bands to record this. I've always been entrepreneurial since as long as I can remember. I just never knew how to actually do it well. I never knew how to make enough to be able to sustain myself, only just to get a bit extra pocket money. So I think all of those, there wasn't probably one significant point, but it was all those little things put together that over the space of however many years it's probably, I don't know, 17 years or something like that, I've been really interested in entrepreneurship. So when I was probably, since I was like 11 or something, it's just ingrained in me that that's what I've always wanted. But I took a big like my foot off the gas after I went to uni. And that's when I got into a rut of being an employee and thinking that that's the way to be successful. So I think that's probably one of the most, it's like on the opposite side of, rather than there's an influential thing that helps me get success, I think that was the thing that actually really made me step outside the box, 18 months ago, because I was working for like 5 years at Apple. I was like, okay, I need to leave there. I tried to get some sales jobs, got one sales job, moved to London, got another one, and I was like, this can't be it, right? And that got me to the point of frustration, like real frustration. I was not happy. I was thinking, right, I need to do something now. Like it's getting to the point where I've done this for 5 years, and time flies as well. And that's when it's like the straw that broke the camel's back. I was like, I've had enough. Like whatever is happening, I am doing something about it right now. So I needed that. I think more so than anything else. I needed the pain of, I guess, having to work every day.
Do you feel like your time at Apple, you got absorbed into the culture, and that's why the 5 years went so quick?
I loved the place. In terms of a company to work for, like I think they're wicked. I did some incredible things there. They invited me out to like headquarters on like secret projects and stuff like that. I was the sales trainer, and I taught like the technical team. So I was kind of doing the teaching, and that was the thing that I really enjoyed doing. So it was really, really interesting. I developed massively as a person in terms of like, sales techniques, psychology of selling, like how to overcome objections, and all the things that really, really help generally in life. I managed to learn a lot there, and I love the technology. I'm a proper like tech geek. So I really enjoy the technology side of things and teaching people about it, and then like whoever it may be, when people figure out that they can do something really cool with their iPhone, I'm like, that's it. But that's the stuff I like. So I always liked working there. But the reason that I kept working there is that every 6 months or so I progressed into a new job. Even though it was the same company, it was a slightly different job while I was there, and that kept me on my toes. And then it got to the point where there was no next thing, or I had to wait a year to get to the next level, and I was like, I can't. It's too long. It's too long. Like, doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. It was just that's when I was like, okay, I'm out now, because they couldn't offer me anything else. So that was although a great company to work for. I learned a lot. I think I stayed there too long.
You mentioned briefly as well about the sort of sales training element, and also overcoming objections. How has that helped you in your entrepreneurial ventures now?
Just massively. Literally.
Do you understand a lot more about the psychology of selling?
Huge amount, because the way I think about it, Apple put hundreds of thousands, probably, if not millions, into their strategies on how they sell their products, right? And then I had access to all of that, and I was teaching all of, like, I think in the store we had about 80 or 90 people, and I would teach all of those people how to do those things, how to convey what Apple are trying to convey to the customers. And it was the psychology of what to say, how to say it, when to say it, in what order, to make someone feel a certain way. So if someone comes in really annoyed at you and they're shouting at you, to just disarm them straight away, just with a few words. And that's really helped. Just for example, say a customer has a problem with one of their products, right? And it's their fault, right? They're just they're just trying to like get through a loophole, whatever it may be. There's just a different way you can say things, which is, which all the big companies will do. But sometimes with smaller companies, you won't see it because they're not trained on how to deal with customer issues. Or for example, with the personal brand, it's just a different. It's just a way of supporting people, so they know that I know that they know I know they know that I care. Basically, rather than just being like, oh yeah, here's the answer. It's just like just replying in a certain way that knows. So they know I care about them as a person rather than just answering their question. Massively impacted, because I just think about. It's probably really cheesy. Like, I know people listen to this and think like, "Oh, you're such a dick." But I always think like, well, what would Apple do in this situation? Like how their marketing, right? Very very clean design. They have people they have a huge team of people. It's one of the biggest companies in the world. Some of the best marketing in the world. So you just model what they do. So if you're doing a sales page and the only thing on the sales page is like the iPhone, and you're selling something and there's all the rubbish everywhere, then just copy what they're doing, be minimalist and do it the way they do it.
I mean, you may think it's cheesy, but they're one of the biggest companies in the world for a reason.
They are there for a reason. And I'm not saying carbon copy what they do. I'm just saying take influence from what they're doing, because it's working. And you see loads of companies do the same thing. It's just with small companies, then you have the ability to mimic huge companies. It's just a lot of people maybe don't think that or they don't think they can. And you see some websites, you're like, what the hell is that? And it's just like, it's weird. Like, for example, if people have ever seen like ClickFunnels, right? So it's a website builder, but it's very easy to make it look really spammy and like scammy because of the button colors and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't really like using it because it doesn't look clean. If that makes sense. So I would use it, and it's good for some things, but I wouldn't have my website built on it. I'd build my website something else. So you can do it in a certain way. I know. Cool. Fanboy.
Okay, so I suppose we'll pick up from there then. So Apple kind of stagnated in a career progression. It was a good place to work, but just personally, it wasn't like you had some sort of vendetta against the company.
No, not at all. Like, I got a huge amount. I literally took as much as I could from the company in terms of self development. And then took everything I could, got to the point where I was like, probably can't get any more, and decided to leave. I was like, I need more. The thing to me was like, I need more money, right? I'm working so hard, and I was always trying to progress and be better. But I would get like 5% increase in wage a year, which is more than some companies, but it's not a lot.
Not what you want.
It's not. It's not. I don't think it's not. An equal amount for the value that you're offering, like an extra 5% of your wage. I was like, it's not very good. So I was like, okay, I need to go into sales. I need to go into commission sales. So I had a friend that was doing it. He was doing quite well. So I was like, okay, get me a job. Went there, did that for a bit, and realised, okay, this is literally the same thing every day, and it is just so boring. Where you're just like, I was just phoning people, phoning. It was an interesting job, and I was reaching out to CEOs of the biggest companies in the world, right, top level CEOs or C-level executives for the biggest finance companies. Then, although I was speaking to some awesome people, it was just a boring job. And it was like it was just numbers on a board. Like, how many calls have you made? And I was like, oh man, it's
felt like a cog.
It literally a cog. And then I was like, okay, if I want to be successful, then I need to move to London, because that's where people wear suits and and that's where successful people work. So I did just that. Spoke to someone that I'd met through a friend who's a director at a recruitment company. So I was like, okay, can I come work for you? And he was like, yeah, sick. So I went to do that, thinking, this is how I'm gonna make more money. And it was just more of the same, basically. Like, work you as hard as you possibly can. You can't leave on time because you're looked at a certain way. If you leave on time, it's like, oh, then obviously not trying hard enough. Whereas my approach was be as efficient as possible. So I would do less work, but I would make more than other people. Because I was like, I'm not doing that, because it doesn't make any sense. Because you're just picking up the phone for the sake of picking up the phone, whatever. And I just got to the point where I was like, this is not enjoyable. I was commuting nearly 3 hours a day into London. And that sucked. I thought it was really, at the beginning I was like people watching and it was all good. Like seeing what people do, like whatever. But after a while I got really too much. Really, and a lot of people I know will be in this situation where they just like the commute is just literally the most horrible thing I've ever experienced. So I went to Turkey, right? I needed a cheap holiday, because this is the sort of point where people are like, don't go to Turkey. like it's a bad place to go right now, right? And I was
the
like,
military coup and everything.
Yeah, exactly. All that was happening, right? So anyway, I went to Turkey, got a really cheap deal. It was like, I don't know, £300 for 10 nights.
Yeah.
For like 2 people. I don't know what it was, but it was
good,
dirt cheap. And I just sat there like by the poolside on the beach, and I was just like, I've literally had enough. There is no way I'm not doing something that I need to create like a side hustle, to create side income. During all that time, for the weeks running up to it, I was watching YouTube, I was watching people like Tanner, a whole bunch of other people online, just thinking, okay, what can I do? I started reaching out to some people that were making some money, and I considered lots of different options, but I procrastinated for like weeks and weeks and weeks. I procrastinated. And it was at that point where I went on holiday and I was sitting there and I just had that time to think. I really needed that time to think. And I was like, right, when I get back, the first thing I'm doing, I think it was the Friday I got back, the first thing I'm doing is I'm buying an online course, because it's putting your money where your mouth is. I needed to have the accountability for it, because it wasn't working before that. And I'm going to start my YouTube channel. I've always wanted to have a YouTube channel, and I just had nothing to talk about. So I was like, this is a perfect idea. I'll start a YouTube channel to talk about what I'm doing, because it's quite interesting. I would want to see it if I was on the other side. And we'll just see what happens. It's like, it might work, it might not. And just literally like throw a punt in it, because I felt like I was at least doing something, rather than just going back into the job and doing the same thing and getting the same results. Whereas, if you want to, what was it, the Einstein quote? It's like, if you want, like, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing but expect different results. Right. And that's basically when everything changed, and that's when the last year, whatever, I've had my overnight success, whatever. As people kind of sometimes look at it, but it's not been like that at all.
So it started off then. Had you shopped around for different online courses? Like, can you give us more context? Did you buy a few, or was it the first one?
No, the first one was definitely the one where I was really worried about spending the money. Like, super. It was a lot of money. Like, bear in mind that I've just saved up even like pennies to try and go on a holiday. I wasn't in a bad way. It was just, I was living near London. Commuting is really expensive. I just didn't have that much money. So that first few £100 was honestly the most important. But once I realised and got into the community of other people doing the same thing, then it felt like a big, not like weight lifted, but it felt like, oh, okay, I'm not by myself, right? There's other people out there that also want to do the same thing, because I couldn't speak to anyone in person, or even anyone I knew about like being an entrepreneur or doing like Amazon or doing on YouTube. I didn't know anyone that really I could speak to about it. But as soon as I got into these communities, then it was like loads of people wanting to do the same thing. It really, really helped. So that was the first one I got. I looked at other ones like for different business models, but what I wanted to do, because I was working full time, I definitely couldn't afford to quit my job like at all. I didn't really want to take time off, because they look at you badly when you take time. Anyway, whatever. So I was like, right, Amazon works for me because it's a passive income stream. I can set it up after work, even though I've got like horrendous hours. I was leaving the house at 7 a.m. I was getting back about between 8:30, maybe 9:30 at night. So I was literally out of the day for the majority of the day. I was like, okay, in the evenings I could do half an hour, and in the mornings I could do half an hour. And I could be able to find a product, I can get it launched, because I don't have to physically go somewhere and do something. It took a couple of months, and then eventually had the products all in and all that sort of stuff. And it got to that point where I was working at the job, right, and I wasn't allowed my phone on me, or you weren't allowed to get your phone out. Just getting another one of those stupid rules. And I would go to the toilet, check how many sales I made on Amazon, and just be like, yeah, all right. And it was such a good feeling of that first instance of passive income. And I was kind of hooked. I was like, if I can start it by the amount of time that I didn't have,
an hour a day,
it was an hour a day. Like on the weekends I'll do a bit more, but I really did not have time. Right, I just did not have time. I couldn't do it while I was at work. I couldn't just go on the computer and do it. There was no way that was possible. So if I was thinking, if I can do it, then lots of other people can do it as well. When people say to me they've got no time, I'm like, really? Just get up earlier.
Everyone has time.
Everyone has time. I think for those two, I did get really burnt out for 2 months. I probably worked on about 4 hours sleep a night, because I was trying to do all these, and the YouTube channel as well. So I was trying to create the YouTube content and learning how to do that. So I got super burnt out after 2 months, but I managed to quit my job in 2 months. and then I just had a week of just like sleeping.
Yeah.
So I needed it.
Refresh. Yeah.
Refresh. Yeah. So it was definitely hard work, but it was 100% worth it. 100%.
And then as well, just in case anybody doesn't know what FBA is, Amazon FBA is fulfillment by Amazon. So any products that you buy products online from Alibaba or any sort of manufacturer, and what Johnny does is private labeling, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So there's basically 3 elements to it, right? So there's private labeling is the first element. There's the Amazon selling platform is the second element, and there's the fulfillment by Amazon, or known as FBA, is the third element. Private labeling is just like getting a product, right? So if you have a microphone like the one we've got in front of us, that says blue on it, it's like Blue Yeti or whatever it is. You could have one made in China which just says yellow, right?
Yeah.
And it could be your yellow brand, Yellow Yeti. And you can sell that product on Amazon. So private labeling, that's the kind of getting the product aspect. Then the Amazon platform is the way of making sales, right? So Amazon have all these customers that come to Amazon every single day. They've already done the promotions and done the advertising to sell to these customers. You're then offering your product, which is like the Yellow Yeti microphone, and then hopefully people buy it, right? And then the third element is the FBA. So what a lot of people will think is that, okay, when a customer buys the product, I've got to go get the product from my garage, go to the post office, and I've got to go post it to the customer. Well, what FBA means is that you actually have your stock sent to Amazon. They have like huge warehouses, and then their staff will pick the product off the shelf. They'll send it to the customer, and then you just do nothing, right? And literally, you do nothing, and people don't believe that. You do nothing. So it's those 3 things combined that make it a really.
But that's what enabled you to do it whilst working.
Precisely, yeah. And like people, some people will want to do things like social media marketing, or they might consultancy in some way, but you need time to do those things. Whereas this, because it's work, Amazon charge you fees and stuff like that, but the fees are there so that you don't have to do things yourself. Yeah. Because you can post this stuff yourself, but if you can get Amazon, it's
almost sometimes the same price as well. In some scenarios,
pretty much the same price. Yeah, it's in some scenarios, but the main thing is that I don't have time to be able to post stuff. Even now, I wouldn't have time to do it. Yeah. Just for the sheer volume. So Amazon take that all off your hands. So that means all you have to do is have a laptop, an internet connection, and a bit of time every single day maybe to get it set up and keep it running, and you can do it from anywhere in the world. And I was like, that is a sick business model. Yeah. Because most businesses, the big thing or the reason why they fail, or the big issue they have, is that they can't get enough customers. And they can't get enough clients, or they fail because they can't make enough money. Whereas with doing private labeling in Amazon FBA, Amazon already have the customers. Yeah, you don't have to go out there and do client outreach. You don't have to do your own like Facebook advertising. If you don't know how to run a Facebook ad, it doesn't matter. You could just use Amazon's platform. So that's why it was a really, really interesting business model, because I was like, that's actually like sick. Yeah, that's really, really cool.
So let's talk about the first product that you got then. And with FBA, we probably won't mention it because typically you don't talk about the types of products because you want to keep it competitive and keep your...
you don't want to give away your secrets.
Exactly. So the first type of product you got, how much did you outlay for that, and how well did that go for you?
This is going back. I think I budgeted about £1,500. Yeah. I think I spent a little bit more than that. I think I probably spent nearer 2,000 with like photos and all the other marketing things you need.
Whatever you think it's going to cost, add on another few £100.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I have people that I teach now that have done it for under 1,000 and doing really well now. But as long as you have a budget, then you can work towards it, right? So I basically worked back from my budget. So, well, how many units can I afford to order if the price was, £5? Yeah. So how many can I get and whatever. So I did that. They sold out really quickly, and I was like, oh, okay, that was easy. I need more. Yeah. So I buy some more stock. But the first product I had an issue with, literally just that, right? I was going in of stock, out of stock, in of stock, out of stock, and I couldn't afford to order the amounts that I needed to maintain the stock level, to maintain this might be going over some people's heads, but to maintain the rank on Amazon so that I could continue to make sales. I literally couldn't afford it. I worked out that I had to order somewhere in the region between £20,000 and £40,000 worth of stock. Yeah. within maybe a 4-week period.
So it was purely just a cash flow issue.
A huge cash flow issue, yeah.
Which is a good and bad issue
it was
to
like,
be having.
Yeah, it was like,
it?
okay, cool. Like, I know the business model works, but that product, maybe it wasn't right for me at that particular time because of the choice in like the cost or whatever it may be, or maybe it was in the demand was too high.
Yeah.
Right. And I couldn't afford to do it. Still a good product. I thought about, should I get a loan? Should I do this? And I was like, do you know what? No, I'm gonna just try and find something a little bit cheaper and do that and build, and just be aware that I need to build it slowly over time, and just not expect it to go to like a million miles an hour straight away. Because if it does that, you have these stock issues and a scaling issue. It's like the economies of scale. Like businesses sometimes fail because they scale too quickly.
Yeah.
So I didn't want that to happen. So I think the second one I went into, I just had a bit more intention over how many to order, how much more of a risk to take, when to order, all those like the little intricacies that in the first one I was like, you don't know, if you haven't done it, you don't know.
Yeah.
You can learn, but everything's always going to be different. Every product's going to be different. Every market, every category is always going to be different. So you just have to play it by ear. Like sometimes I think if you can hit it as like a home run product the first time, fantastic. Like congratulations for doing it. But I think the first one is so important just to actually see the process end to end.
Yeah.
Of you'll know this. Like there's some things which are a little bit confusing, like creating the shipping plans and stuff like that. First time you do it, like where do I click? But the second time you do it, you're like easy.
Done.
Like, I can do it like within about 5 minutes. It's done. I can do it like literally just after I've woken up, like bleary eyed, and it's it's easy stuff. But the first time you do it is I think just that time where you're learning.
Yeah.
And that was super important to do that. Yeah.
That's cool.